Hey everybody, how's it going? My name's Zeke, and today I wanted to talk about something really important on the drum kit when it comes to playing music, and that's transitioning from side to side. Now, what I exactly mean about transitioning is getting from one voice of your drum kit to the other on the fly. So, when it comes to this, there's two things that are really important, okay? The first thing is what's going on at the beginning and the end of the groove or fill that you're doing when you're transitioning, and the second thing is which one of your hands has the most time. Now, the first thing that you have to focus on is what's going on at the beginning or the end of the groove that you're doing. Let's throw up one of the grooves that I'm going to use in the example and talk about it for a second. So, in this groove, what you can see we have is we have a quarter note feel with some offbeats here and there. But let's look at the end of it, okay? The last thing that we have in this groove is we have a cymbal hit, whatever cymbal you're playing on the and of 3, and a snare hit on beat 3. So, what that means is you're going to have all that time to make up your mind what hand you want to use to transition. Now, go to the front of the groove. Usually when we transition, we're going to put a crash on 1. So don't think about beat 1 for a second because that will turn into a crash cymbal. What you have to look at is what comes next. And in this specific beat, what comes after the crash, if we replace it with 1, is a cymbal hit on the end of 1. What that means is after you hit that crash cymbal, you're going to have to figure out a way to get your hand ready for whatever surface you're moving to for that next note on the and of 1, okay? The biggest thing about clean transitions is you can't drop anything when you're doing it. You have to figure out a way to make your hands work. The second thing that you have to focus on when you're transitioning is which one of your hands has the most time. Let's look back at the groove for a second, but mainly focus on the end of it. Now, in that first groove that we looked at, what we had was a cymbal hit on the and of 3 and a snare hit on beat 3 for the last thing that we're going to do with both of our hands. What that means is our snare hand has an eighth note more of time than our cymbal hand does. Something like this is a little bit different because you have so much time after the last note that you hit in this groove, so you can kind of make your own decision when it comes to this. But 9 times out of 10, whenever I'm transitioning, it's usually my snare hand that ends up having the most time to transition. But it's good because using the hand that has the most time, if you can figure out how to do this and which hand is the correct hand for that, it makes it so much easier for you to transition instead of always having to use your hand that's doing all the work. Let's look at another groove really quick that's a little bit more busy, and let's use the same concepts that we used from the 2 rules I just explained, okay? Now in this groove, let's look at the end first. What we have in this one is the last note in the entire groove is a cymbal hit on the and of 4, and the next note before it is a snare hit on beat 4, okay? So what that means is now it's more dense. The last note in the groove only has an eighth note of space before you need to hit that crash or transition. So now it's even more important to use that hand with extra time. Even though your snare hand only has an eighth note more of space to get moving, that space makes all the difference when these beats get sped up, okay? Now, really quick, if we look at the beginning of the beat, just to clarify the rule before, this is exactly the same when it comes to the beginning as the last beat minus the snare. The snare is a little different, but this beat has a cymbal hit at the beginning on 1 and a cymbal hit on the and of 1, okay? So remember, when we're transitioning, 1 turns into a crash, so we have to figure out how to get ready for what comes next. And in this case, on this groove, it's the same thing. The next note is a cymbal hit on the and of 1, so I just have to make sure that whatever hand I use to crash, my next hand or my next hit is coming down cleanly on that and of 1 so I don't miss any notes when I'm transitioning. That's the most important part. Miss notes is a different groove. That's a change. It's not the same thing. So you really have to slow down, take your time, and use the groove if you have it written on paper, or use your brain and use your patience. Really figure out what it's going to take to do that transition the most efficiently. Let's take these 2 grooves to the drum kit though. I'm going to play each of these at 2 different speeds and I'm going to play them one at a time, okay? I'm not really going to add any toms or anything in here. I'm just going to focus on staying on my hi-hat or my ride, maybe mixing some accents in here and there all around the drum kit. I might play the beats on the splash. Who knows? But the point is what I'm trying to do is I'm really trying to focus on getting those transitions to be clean, hitting that next note in the groove after the crash, and then focusing also on using my hand that has the most time so that these transitions can be as efficient and clean as they need to be. So let's go to the drum kit and check it out. Now remember, one transition isn't going to work the same for every groove. You have to really slow down, take your time, and think about what you're doing. The other thing is, it's going to be frustrating at first when you're trying to transition with both of your hands, okay? What you do with your right hand, even though it might be the same mechanics, isn't going to feel the same with your left hand because everybody has a dominant hand. But on drumming, a dominant hand is a cancer. You don't want to be handicapped to leading everything with your dominant hand. That takes away so many options for you on the drum kit and so many possibilities of using extra sounds or putting extra rhythms in your beats. So really focus when you think about these transitions and try to see if there are ways that you can use sounds that you wouldn't usually use. Push yourself when you're doing these. But that's all I got for you today, guys, okay? Take this to your drum kit. Try it out. See if there's a cymbal that you've been neglecting on your kit. Maybe there's a more efficient way to get from one side of the drum kit to the other. Maybe you've been spending all your time transitioning with one hand, all right? But the key to this video is no one-sided and no one-handed drummers, okay? You're going to sound really boring really quick if you can only play on one side of the kit because you can't transition, and if you're using the dominant and the same hand of yours every single time you transition. Remember the two rules about this video, okay? What happens at the beginning and the end of your groove, and which one of your hands has the most time. But that's all for today, guys. Anyway, remember to click that like and leave a comment if you like this video. Also, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. I got a lot of videos coming up. I finally got my microphones and everything set up, so I'm good to go. But anyway, hope you guys are doing well out there. Keep practicing, and I'll see you guys at the next video.